Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. I've been out on a little wild camp this weekend and I've been doing a lot of cooking. And over the past 12 hours, I've probably consumed about 4,000 calories worth of food and I'm feeling pretty bloated. But while I was doing all that cooking, I realized that I've been using a little mess kit for over 2 years now. And I don't believe I've ever really mentioned it on a video. So today, I'm going to tell you all about the Wildo mess kit, because the Wildo can do. Before we get too far into this weekend that I'm out, I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm filming a lot of different videos. And one of the things I wanted to try was to use something that was given to me as a gift by a very dear friend of mine for over 30 years and a brother in Christ, Bill Johnson. He gifted me with this. Now, I know some of you have complained a little bit about the varying degree of volume in my videos, because up until now, I've only had a shotgun mic. The further I get away from the camera, the lower the volume gets from my voice. So you have to constantly turn it up, turn it down, turn it up, turn it down. And I know that's very frustrating for some of you. Well, obviously Bill noticed that as well, and he's gifted me with this really awesome wireless mic set. And I did a little test with it earlier, and I went about 25 yards away, and we're on the little screen on my camera I'm looking at right now. Well, I'm maybe about this big. You can hear my voice exactly as if I'm right here. So, Brother Bill, thank you. God bless you. I appreciate you. Now, the idea of a mess kit is nothing new. I used to be a historical reenactor, and I reenacted the French and Indian War. I was part of a unit of provincial rangers called Hobbs Company, and my mess kit would have consisted of a tin cup, a wooden trencher, a horn or a wooden spoon, and a knife. And I took that with me everywhere I went. And when we were served rations in the field, that's what I used to eat from. And it's continued on in complexity and the style of designs. When I was in the United States Army, I was issued a mess kit that was absolutely identical to the mess kit that they issued during World War II. That mess kit, it was very, very similar to the mess kit that they issued in World War I. It consisted of two metal plates, basically. Mine had a little divider in the lid. You remove the lid, a handle would come out, and you had basically a pan. The way it was designed is the lid would nest with a little D-ring into that handle, so you could carry it between the two and go through a chow line, and then they would put the chow on your tins and you go eat. Our cutlery was exactly the same as it was in World War II and very similar to the way it was in World War I. We had a honking huge spoon, we had a butter knife, and we had a fork. Now, that's, all fine and dandy. However, that thing made a lot of noise and it was kind of heavy. So what I would do is I would put my utensils in a sock and would wrap a rubber band around it, and I would double that sock over 2 or 3 different times to be in there, so when it bounced around it wouldn't make any noise. And then of course you wanted to have something paddle around it so that metal wouldn't be clanging on stuff making noise. And I have no idea if they even issue a mess kit today. But if they do, I hope it was a whole lot better than the one I was issued. Every country in the world that has a military probably has some type of a mess kit. And you could also throw in, for my mess kit, is my canteen cup that my canteen nested in, because you got to have your Joe, right? Well, This particular mess kit was actually suggested to me by one of my viewers in one of the comments, and as soon as they wrote it down, I didn't even reply to the comment. I checked it out, found it on Amazon, bought it right then, and then replied back. And there's no way in the world I could ever remember your name, but thank you. This has really served me well. Let's take a look at it. Now, this particular Wildo, and there's a lot of different varieties that you can actually purchase. This is called the Camp a Box Complete Mess Kit. It's made in Sweden by the Wildo Company, and they are the creators of the original Fold-A Cup. Now, this particular kit here weighs 9 ounces, which is 280 grams. It is made of polypropylene and a thermoplastic called Elastitomer. It's dishwasher safe, BPA free, and recyclable. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what all comes with it. Like I said, they offer a lot of different variations of this, and you can get something as simple as just the lid and the dish that this covers, all the way up to the complete Camp a Box. This is the lid, which is also a nice deep dish vessel for you to put food in. Like when I cook, sometimes that I'll actually put my ingredients and stuff in here, just keep it from getting all over the place. There is a cutting board with a built-in strainer, so that way if you are cooking pasta, you can actually put this on your pot. Matter of fact, I did that last night. I made some sirloin tips with mushrooms and onions with egg noodles, and I used this with my rectangular Esbit set, and it worked perfectly. It was really nice. I even used the cutting board to cut up all the onions and stuff. So we have those. It comes with a spork. This particular spork looks very sci-fi. There are a couple tines. You have your spoon-esque type thing here, and a serrated cutting edge. This actually does cut halfway decent. I am not a fan of sporks whatsoever. No one has made a spork that I like. The only spork I've ever liked was on Toy Story, and you know, his name was Sporky, so how could you not like a guy called Sporky? So we have that. We have a small Fold-A Cup, and let's see, it does not say the capacity of this, but it's fairly small. You can see by my hand. This right here would easily hold like a standard cup of tea, 8 ounces, very easily. Yeah, that would probably be about a cup, I would say. The other one is conservatively at least twice the size, so that's probably a 2-cup capacity. Again, oh wait, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have a capacity on there. But like I said, Wildo was supposedly the ones that did the original Fold-A Cup. And I've always steered away from these. A lot of my friends carried these all the time. They absolutely loved them. One of the really nice things about it is you can put hot liquids in here and to be able to sip from them, and they will not burn your lip. And but I stayed away from them primarily because I was afraid that with all this folding and unfolding, that eventually that would break. And I know eventually it will. I just don't know how many folds and unfolds it's going to take. But you know, I have a little bit of a handle there, which for a minimalistic piece of kit, I think is perfectly fine. They have a pretty cool little double flange there, so you can actually get a pretty decent grip on that, which is pretty good. And it comes with a seasoning container, and the seasoning container will allow you to fill it with whatever seasonings you want, up to 3 different seasonings. I have Redmond's salt and just some regular ground black pepper. At one time I had some mixture of cumin and curry powder in here, and for some different recipes I was playing with. The one thing about this I've noticed is that the seal is good enough to keep the stuff from falling out, but it's not good enough to prevent moisture from getting in, either through the bottom where the shakers are, the little shaker holes, or the top. There's been a couple different times I've had to completely dig out all of the seasonings in there because they were caked in there due to humidity getting to them. And so one thing you could do is only put what you'd probably need for the weekend when you're going out in it, so that way you're not at risk of losing a bunch of seasoning. And that would work pretty well. The shaker works pretty good. It's fairly easy to fill. The smaller ones, they are a bit of a pain. So what I will do is I'll spoon in some seasonings in a folded piece of like an index card, and then I will carefully pour it in that way until it's as full as I need or want it to be, and that's one way you can keep it from spilling. And then the last piece is your primary dish, and which works absolutely fantastic. There's like a little rest here for your fingers, and you have a nice little raised area here for your grip, so you could eat even if you're using a spork. I have tried this spork. I do not like it. I'll give you a demo real quick. Okay, this is the spork. This is the width of my mouth. Okay, let's say you load up a big old bunch of food on there. Okay, you start putting that in your mouth. Right there, I'm this far of having that in my mouth, and it's touching the edges of the corners of my mouth. This is a serrated edge. This will cut a steak. So, no. Or you could do, it's just like, who wants to use a spoon like that? Really? Well, if you do, I'm not trying to be condescending to you. I personally am foreign to the idea of eating with a spoon like that, but don't like the spork. Now, I honestly don't know what these things are going for now. As I'm doing my editing and processing for the video, I'll find a couple links and put them in the description box, so you can just take a look for yourself what they are. Now, I know when I bought mine, it was very inexpensive. In my opinion, for what this is, it was very inexpensive, because the little booger is pretty tough. And whenever I use my rectangular Esbit cook set, this is like the perfect companion for it, because it's almost the same dimensions. It's a little thinner, just a little bit smaller dimensions, and the fact that it's a rectangular design, it fits in exterior pockets of backpacks very easily. And when everything is assembled or stowed, and the spoon really doesn't go anyplace well because of this protrusion. It always sticks up somewhere, somehow, and it just doesn't it doesn't do well no matter where you try to put it. It's almost like it was an afterthought, and because I'd like to have my cutting board actually rest flush on that, but it just doesn't do it. The lid actually has little raised areas all along the interior, real close up here, and there is just the slightest little bit of a lip right through here on the pan that will lock that in pretty well. So It's compact, it's lightweight. Apart from the Spork, I think it's a great little design, and yeah, I really like it, and I've used it for a little over 2 years now, and unless someone comes up with something a whole lot better, I'll continue using it. Now, Voodoo Tactical has a copy of this. It's very similar to this, except they have replaced the Spork with a mess kit that's very similar to the old Boy Scout mess set with the cutlery for the spoon, the fork, and the knife. They have like a little, there's holes in them, they're like a little keyhole, and you have a raised area with a couple flanges on it to where they go in and they lock into place, and it goes into a little container. That's what they use for their cutlery, and you know, I think that's a better idea, but it's still pretty much a copy. Also, Helicontex uses Wildo's kit. I mean, it's absolutely 100% identical. Wildo's logos are on it. The Fold-A Cup logo is on the bottom of their cups, except Helicontex has their great big huge honking chameleon logo on most of the component parts of the kit. But other than that, it's absolutely identical. And depending on where you get it, it's actually more expensive than the one without the great big huge honking chameleon logos. I always felt that I was somewhat indifferent to the whole aspect of mess kits, just simply because I've tried so many of them. I think UCO, I think that's UCO. They had this triangular thing. I bought one of those. I bought a couple GSI nesting bowls. They were round. They had insulation things on it. The insulation wasn't, it was garbage, but it made the bowls that nest inside each other difficult to separate, and they would stick. It did make it a little more quiet, and they had these little folding utensil things made out of plastic, and no. But I always thought I was indifferent to these things. But when I sit back and think about it, I do have a preference, and I have all those mess kits, or I had all those mess kits. I've given a lot of them away that just aren't my cup of tea, and I've got grandkids, I've given it to them. I have friends that they didn't have any mess kit whatsoever. I say, hey, try this. If you don't like it, give it to somebody else. I don't want it back. But this one here, I like pretty well. And considering this was a completely spur-of-the-moment video, hopefully you liked it okay. Hopefully you got a little bit out of it. And hopefully, if by any chance you were in the market for a mess kit, you might want to do your research, check it out, read a bunch more reviews, see if there's any more videos out there of this. It might provide a lot more information than I have, and you might want to consider this. If you have a mess kit success story, let me know about it. Tell me in the comments section below, because this is not the definitive mess kit. I just happen to like it because it's the one I like the most right now. If you know of one that's designed a little bit better and has better features, please let me know. Well, folks, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. I'm out on a little wild camp, and this is an experimentation weekend for me. I'm trying out some pieces of kit, some modifications I've made to other pieces of kit. Now, before we get all into the Wildo, this is sort of like an experimentation weekend for me. I'm trying out a bunch of different techniques. Now, before we get things started on the mess kit, I wanted to share this with you. One of the experimental things I was going,